Well, thanks everybody for joining today. My name is John Seguin. I'm one of the co-founders of Third Iron and our president and chief librarian. Today we're going to be talking about LibKey 2020, bigger, better, faster, stronger. Things we've been working on over the last 6 months, 8 months or so with LibKey, many of which are out now, some which are coming very soon in the second quarter, but lots of advancements going on. So I'm very, very excited to share that with you. First, I just want to give you a little update if you're brand new to Third Iron. I know some people on the call may be. We have been a library services company since 2011. We now serve nearly 1,000 libraries in 32 countries around the world. Everything from academic libraries to medical libraries to corporate and government, anywhere where people are accessing journal literature and want to do it in a faster, easier manner. The history of the company is that we actually built our first product, Browsine, and released that in 2012. And the idea behind Browsine was to build the world's best journal engagement tool. This was done at a time where libraries were moving a lot of their journal material online, and they were constricting the physical space they had for easy browsability of those journal subscriptions. And so we designed a system that was initially on mobile with tablets and then phones and then eventually on the desktop to make it very easy to interact with that journal material. One of the hallmarks of that, though, was all about user experience. We tried to make it as simple as print with all the advantages of digital technology. And so for us, that meant essentially that you would be able to find a journal on the shelf, literally pick it off the shelf, look at the table of contents for the current issue or previous issues, and then when you'd find an article you want, in one click, you would get the article, just like you were flipping in that journal to that actual full text document. But as you might imagine, when we started working on that, we realized, of course, that the normal way of doing that process is through link resolvers. And the link resolver process hasn't really evolved much in 15 or 20 years. And so there's a number of steps that we put in front of our users to get them from the various indexes and other tools where people are starting their research journey to the actual document. And there's a number of hiccups that can happen along the way. Links may not work. Users may be confused by overlapping sources or library jargon with embargoes and what is DOAJ and what is CINAHL and all these kinds of things. And then they may actually get to a publisher page which is correct, but there's thousands of different ones and there's confusion in that process as well. And so you might imagine when we started building Browsine and we were doing this on the mobile device, stepping through that kind of process was a very poor user experience. And so we had to figure out something else. We had to kind of reinvent this wheel, if you will, to get to the document in a single click. Because we know that if we do not do that, our users will go elsewhere. Because at the same time that we built Browsine, there were other services emerging, things like Academia EDU, ResearchGate, Sci-Hub, and so on, that users were being attracted to because of just the simplicity. As Alex Holcomb, a researcher here, notes on Twitter, getting access to a journal article at their university library, minimum 55 seconds. But if he goes to Sci-Hub, it's 5 seconds. I just put the DOI in and done. And we want to figure out how can we keep our users within our own ecosystem so that the library tools have that same level of simplicity that all of these pirate sites or sort of quasi-legal systems have. Because of course we have, as libraries, the most complete systems and the most authoritative ones. And we want to make sure that the user experience then is equivalent to what users are expecting. Because of things like ResearchGate or Sci-Hub, users now expect that if they encounter an article that they find in a search tool or a discovery system, and it says that online access is available, that they'll get it in one click, that it's there. And that's informed by these different tools. But unfortunately, the reality is that link resolver workflow. They find it something they want, they go to link resolver sources. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's 17, just depends on what you're looking at. Then you go to a publisher page, some are more obvious than not, some look better on mobile than not, and then I eventually get to the document. And of course, that kind of three-step sort of hop, as you can see, that's something that happens at your libraries thousands of times a day. And so that's a very cumbersome process that we thought we have to make this better. We have to figure out how can we design a system that meets those user expectations. And that's exactly what we set out to do with the LibKey technology. So we built this, again, for Browsine first, but then we essentially extracted that a couple of years ago because we realized there were so many other places in the library ecosystem that researchers could benefit from this technology. So what we're trying to do is redefine that user experience to provide what we call consistent signposts, regardless of the starting place, to connect users to library-supported content quickly and easily. The way that we do that is that we have on our end a very large set of article metadata, tens of millions of articles. We know about the library entitlements data, which we get from all the different link resolver companies that all the libraries subscribe to. And we know how you authenticate to content, whether that's proxy servers and IP-based type solutions or SAML solutions like Open Athens. Then we take an identifier that gives us absolute precision to that article, like a DOI or PMID, and in a single click then can get you to that document. And we do all of this in 1/10 of a second. So we think speed is also very, very important to this process. We've evolved this then to make a couple different product types that have LibKey embedded in them. And we call that the LibKey suite. All of this together, the LibKey suite and Browsine, we call Third Iron Complete, which is what most of our libraries around the world subscribe to. If you've been a subscriber to Browsine for a long time, it's very likely that you were automatically upgraded to Third Iron Complete at no extra charge. And all these services are available to you forever, included with your subscription. Because when we kind of set out to think about Browsine, we were actually thinking very long tail, all these different types of processes that could happen. We wanted to make sure that that was the offering that Third Iron was representing. So with LibKey Discovery, that's the one where we're focusing on the LibKey integration into the discovery environment, Primo, Summon, and so on. We'll touch on that briefly. LibKey Link, though, is really what we're going to spend a lot of the time talking about today because it's by far the biggest thing we've been investing time and energy into, and lots of impact for that, because what it's really doing is looking at all the different traditional link resolver workflow locations that you have and trying to expedite that with LibKey technology. LibKey Nomad is our browser extension so that users who are not going right through the library portals or using library tools, but instead of going right to Google Scholar or PubMed and so on, can have a very enhanced experience with LibKey technology. And again, bring that consistency that we have in LibKey Discovery and LibKey Link to their browsing experience. And then finally, I'll provide a quick preview of LibKey.io, which is our easy DOI PMID lookup system, and what we're looking to make as the new standard in scholarly linking. So briefly on LibKey Discovery, I know a lot of you probably on this call are already using this, hopefully really, really enjoying it. And what we're doing with this is we're taking the initial discovery results from lots of popular systems and enhancing those in real time to say if we have a PDF link available for you, or to have the view issue contents link, and also to have the cover image, making it easier to recognize sources. This is now supported in every major discovery system out there. It's been great to see that grow over time. And we provide these two major interactions, that article in context and the LibKey direct linking. Article in context is this concept where we can take the article that you found and in one click launch you into Browsine to show you where that was originally published in its original issue. Or maybe it's even an article in press and we can show you that as well. What this does is give a really nice serendipitous discovery experience to the discovery systems. And so you can actually see other articles that might be published in the same thematic issue, leading to additional discoveries that may not come up in a discovery top 10 results because of the terms that you used. It can also lead users to discover journals that they're not familiar with, and in one click add that to my bookshelf and start following a whole new journal that may have just started being published last year. So a really nice discovery experience there. And we actually studied this and found that after someone clicks into Browsine, they click an average of 8.75 more times inside of that Browsine ecosystem. So we know it's a heavily used system by researchers wanting to kind of take a step back and see the context of that article. And then, of course, with our LibKey one-click access to PDF, we instantly notify the user if there's a download now available for them. We've actually expanded that for many of our systems to also support article or article links, as some platforms don't yet support the PDF linking. So we can actually do a one-click link to the article link, which is very exciting as well. Very helpful with services like ProQuest and so on, where the aggregator systems don't have that capability. You can see people tweeting about this. There's no greater joy than seeing LibKey Instant PDF next to a piece of reading I have to do. It does make the experience much simpler because, again, you're not doing that three-step kind of hop through the different link resolver steps and publisher pages and so on. LibKey provided more than 2.8 million PDF downloads last month, and that continues to grow month after month after month, because we know that there's just much more demand for this sort of instant gratification when you're in those systems, and really making the user experience much, much simpler. This has been out long enough where we've actually started to do some case studies of this. We have one here from University of Manchester that we completed in February, really finding lots of great benefits. LibKey led to 75% fewer clicks, of course, because you're not doing that three-step hop, you're doing just a single. You have improved usability, where they actually calculate the number of clicks and the number of downloads that they did over all this time, over a year, and it can actually save accumulation for the campus over 100 days of researcher time, because it just takes so much less time to do this very common process. Interestingly, also they noticed a reduced support ticket volume of 25%, because of course you're clicking into things that are much more reliable. And you're also making sure that there's less user confusion, where they encounter something where they feel they have to write a ticket because they don't understand what's going on. So overall, leads to better time savings and better use of the resources. Now, LibKey Link 2.0, the reason why I call it 2.0 is that if you've been with us for a while, you know that LibKey Link came out last year, about March or April of last year, and it was totally focused on PubMed. And the reason why was because that was in response to many of our medical libraries saying, you know, that discovery thing looks really cool, but we don't have a discovery system. We use PubMed. That is our kind of discovery system for our researchers and clinicians. So what we did was we designed LibKey Link, which is meant to replace the link resolver link that is put into the outside tool inside of LibKey, inside of PubMed. And it provides a very similar one-click resolution experience. But after having that out for many months, there were a couple major requests that came from our libraries, which has led to the evolution of LibKey Link 2.0. And that is, number one, we want this to work in more sources. We want it to work in Google Scholar and Scopus and EndNote and Web of Science and all these different places that we also have the same kind of multi-step resolution process, which is causing our users confusion and frustration. And so one of the things that we did was we evolved it to parse a full open URL, looking for those identifiers. So if it sees a DOI or it sees a PMID, which of course is very commonly produced by all these different indexing services, it will automatically initiate the LibKey link process. The other thing that we had commentary on was that the way that LibKey link initially worked was that in one click, we would determine, can we provide a PDF link for you? And if we can, then we get right to the document. But some researchers were noting that because of the type of work they do, they're actually really interested in not just the PDF, but ancillary materials, maybe data sets that have to be downloaded, additional kind of indexes and appendices and so on that may not be there in the original article. And because we were providing a one-click resolution, there wasn't really that opportunity to go see those other materials. So the other thing that we're introducing is something we call the format chooser, which I'll get into in a moment, but that allows the user to make that choice for themselves at an individual level. A very exciting evolution here. So this service is coming out this quarter. So we're kind of finishing that up right now. Very excited to kind of see how it's working. And I want to share a lot of screenshots and kind of workflow demonstrations of how this works for you. So the way that we talk about this is as a link resolver accelerator. It doesn't replace your link resolver outright, but it may function in place of it in a majority of cases. So normally there's that three-step process that you're doing, that may be going to your link resolvers, into publisher pages, and the documents, and so on. And LibKey actually lives within those. It lives before it, and it does various forwarding to the different kind of stages there based on the user choice, available data, and the automation that has been set up in it. So let me explain a little bit more about what this format chooser is, because the format chooser is really a very big shift in the way that we can present resources to our users. Historically, with link resolvers, we've really been saying, user, we want you to understand these different source types, and we want you to understand all these publisher pages, to navigate all that stuff, to get to the content piece that you wanted when you were in PubMed or when you were in Web of Science. You wanted to see that document, but because of the technology that's available, we have to give you all this stuff to think through. Instead, we think that it's important to focus on the content, since that's what the researchers want to focus on, and also give them some format options. What format do you want this in? Do you want the PDF immediately? Great, we can provide that here for you. Or maybe you do want to go to that web link for the article because you're looking for the data sets and so on. So we can provide that option for you as well. But you'll notice that it also says a little checkbox there, automatically remember my format choice for 24 hours. Because many researchers tell us that what they usually do is they have kind of a boom or bust sort of cycle of research, where they say, okay, I need to do some literature reviews. I'm going to sit down here at PubMed or Web of Science, and I'm going to look for a bunch of stuff. I'm going to get a bunch of articles and throw them in EndNote and kind of do that initial literature review. And then I may not do anything for a while. And so because of that, if you are kind of looking for that quick PDF access, if you check that box, then the next time you go into PubMed and choose the link resolver link, and you've chosen PDF, if we have a PDF, we'll instantly just transport you. You won't even stop here and see this. You'll literally get a Sci-Hub-like one-click to the document. Really, really slick. But if you don't choose that, then we'll present these options for you. And maybe you want to see the view article in context as well at that point and go into browsing. So you have those options for you as well. Note also that at the very bottom, we have a trouble, see all content access options for this article. That is always going to link back to your link resolver. So if there's any hesitation about putting this in kind of the path of fire here for these link resolver resolutions, thinking, oh no, what if this, what if there's some issues with this and so on, that link will always be the exact same link that would otherwise be in those services going to your link resolver. So we're always providing that as well. And also, of course, very useful for electronic resource librarians for troubleshooting things and so on, making sure that that is always useful and accessible. So let's look at a couple of real examples. Here we are in Google Scholar. So in Google Scholar, you've got those links right on the top there where you have full text at, I used Purdue here as an example, but any institution that's registered with Google Scholar, you can take the link that you have right now and replace it with a LibKey link. And so in this particular example, it goes to their Primo services, of course. There's an authentication stage to get into the publisher page, and then you can get into the PDF document. But if you use LibKey in that place of that, the first thing it does is it kind of comes down here and you get the format chooser. And we also are able to just say, yeah, there's a PDF available at your institution for this, and there's an article link, or you can view article in context. So let's keep it really simple for the user. Don't have 14 links, just do you want this content or that content? And in this case, the user said PDF. There's of course an authentication stage, and boom, there's the document. Now the user also chose PDF preferred. So they've chosen that box there and they've chosen PDF. So that's telling their browser that if they are going to do this again in 24 hours and we have a PDF, don't stop and ask about it. Just give them the document right away. So if they're back there, they're doing another search in Google Scholar, great. If they were still using kind of the old route, same 4 clicks have to happen every single time. But because they're using LibKey, they chose the full text and they just get it instantly. Notice that, of course, this institution happens to be using a proxy server, so the session's still active. There's no authentication necessary because it's already in the browser, and they instantly get the document, exactly what users expect. And that's what we're trying to deliver with this. Let's take another example. Let's look at Web of Science. So in Web of Science, there's a little Find It link there. And in this case, the user wants to get to that publisher page. They're not necessarily looking to go all the way to the PDF. So they come through here, link resolver, they have to authenticate to the publisher page. But if they do this inside of LibKey, we've got that one click to article web link. They don't have to look to the link resolver and see all these different choices and load that big page. And they can get right to that page as well. So very, very simple, keeps it very consistent for the user to get to where they need to be. Let's look in PubMed. So here inside of PubMed, we know that those link resolver links appear on every single item, right? And whether your library has access to it or not. And that's a very consistent sort of situation. So in this one, it goes to the link resolver and turns out there's no access. So ILL options might be presented depending on your library and so on. But within LibKey link, we have embedded the unpaywall data as well. So in this particular case, unpaywall came back and said, actually, there is a version of this. It's over at PubMed Central or whatnot, and it's available to the user so they can in one click get that PDF. So not only are we looking at your holdings data to see what do you have available and what do you tell us you have available, we also are combining LibKey's knowledge of open access with unpaywall's knowledge of open access discovery for a combined, very powerful, very complete view into open access availability, trying to give your users the best possible experience before they would have to go to an ILL or document delivery option. And here, let's do a Scopus example. So here we are in Scopus. In this particular case, this is also a link resolver services. Library doesn't actually have this item available. So, it goes to document delivery and so on. Now, on our end, maybe we try to look for it as well. It's not in your holdings data. It's not on paywall either. There really is nothing we can do. So if you're using LibKey, we actually never show you any LibKey anything because we do that entire calculation in a fraction of a second, and we immediately forward you to the link resolver services. So there's no interface extra clicks involved. There is a negligible amount of time that we do that quick calculation for the user. And they can continue on to the document delivery provider. Again, trying to be the best possible route and making that calculation without adding additional overhead or burden for the user. So with LibKey Link, there's many variations to the different ways that the options that might be displayed for a user, whether it's on paywall, maybe article link only, PDF and article link, and so on. But the idea is to make it very, very for the user to understand how to use and make it a very quick and easy experience for them. There's other important things as well. It is mobile responsive. When we talked to the National Library of Medicine, we asked them what's the percentage of mobile use? They said 45% of PubMed users do so on a mobile device. And only recently was Outside Tool available on mobile devices. Actually, with the new interface, you can now access your Outside Tool with mobile. But challenges and extra clicks on the web are always more challenging on mobile. So making sure that you have a very slick, optimized system is a really great experience. If you look right now at your current PubMed integrations, or really any link resolver integrations to on the mobile devices, you'll see that most link resolver systems, because they have so much stuff going on at that resolution point, there's a lot of scrolling going on and picking around tiny links to get you from A to B. And then that happens again at the publisher's site. So this makes it much more consistent, much better experience for users. There's other unique benefits as well. You may have users whom English is a second language, and they will especially appreciate simpler interfaces and less clicks, less publisher pages that they have to navigate through, and also less different sources and so on to kind of sort out. And it's just less mental overhead to go from A to B and do it that way. Also, if you have users using screen readers or other assistive technologies, it's always nice to not have to tab 100 times through all these different clicks and interfaces to get from what the page you start at to where you're actually trying to go and be able to do it very easily through the keyboard. So keep in mind, this is a process that happens thousands of times a day at your institution, and suddenly it now can have far fewer clicks, less user confusion, and much faster access to content. So to get started with this, everybody who has registered for this webinar will be the first to receive notice that we have this available. And that's going to happen in just a matter of weeks here. And so we'll let you know that there's a form now that you can set up to kind of do some configuration for that. We're basically looking for your base link resolver because, like I mentioned, we'll be falling back to that if we need to get you to document delivery and so on, so that it's a complete loop and that it works as you'd expect. Instructions will also be provided for a number of popular services. If you haven't been in those services in a while and they're admins about how to swap out the link resolver link base URL that you're using now with the LibKey link, will help guide you to that. So LibKey Nomad is a different service entirely. So just wanted to wrap up with a LibKey link there. LibKey Nomad's been out for a little while. It is our browser extension, runs in Chrome. You can download it now at libkeynomad.com. It's very easy to set up. It'll be coming soon for Edge as well. We have now published enterprise deployment using group policy, and that has been a really successful venture. We have some sites where they said that they've been able to deploy it to 1,300 machines instantly. And what's nice about that is that if you can do that group deployment, that means that users don't have to do anything except start using that library computer or of your staff computers or faculty and so on. And they will instantly get all these benefits without having to do any configuration. So a really nice way to connect them to your library resources. This is what it looks like on publisher sites. You can see that download PDF in the lower left-hand corner. That just pops up within a fraction of a second after you load the page. And we instantly check LibKey's API to know, do you have access to this material? We also do it in non-traditional sites like ResearchGate. Users over here, if they were to click on download full text PDF, this is not a good signposting because it will ask them to contact the author and convince them to upload their, their document to this site illegally so that it can be downloaded by others and so on and so on. So this actually is a really nice way to connect them back to library resources, and it is fully branded with your library. This says Nomad Demo Library. This would obviously say the name of your library with your users. We also do an inline enhancement for services like PubMed. And this is really nice because it makes them feel very much like a discovery platform. So literally as I'm doing my search, I get those search results. You can see those download PDF, view complete issues, cover images, just like we do in Primo, but via the extension, we're able to do this in PubMed as well. We have some inline extensions coming to more popular ANI services in just a couple of weeks. So definitely be watching our newsletter for the announcement of that update. We're very excited about these other services that we're going to be doing that with. We also do this in Wikipedia as well. So Wikipedia's got lots and lots of scholarly references in it for scientific topics and so on. And so when I do that search, you can see that it's connecting me to my library resources. All of the authentication, entitlements, and everything is baked into those links. LibKey Nomad works on the concept that all of our services work on, which is looking for the best available copy of that article. We first check the LibKey knowledge base, which knows about fully OA Gold OA journals, subscribed journals, aggregators, and so on. And we provide appropriate signposting of this will be a PDF, this will be an article link as appropriate. If that doesn't yield anything, then we also check on paywall. And if on paywall can find something, then great. We then display the appropriate links as well. We also support, of course, their manuscript, accepted manuscripts, PDFs and links. Unpaywall does actually go farther than that, and they take not yet accepted for publication, not yet peer-reviewed sort of things. We do automatically exclude those because we want to make sure that the user can have confidence that this is a peer-reviewed final version, even if it's the the author's copy and it's a manuscript. If all of that fails and nothing is able to provide access, we then take the metadata and we're able to provide that to your link resolver, which means that it could go and do a document delivery request in a single click. Oops, sorry. So what's next with this? Like I mentioned, we have additional popular ANI services that have been requested by users over the last few months. I'm very excited to be releasing those very soon. So just a brief mention of LibKey.io. LibKey.io will be coming out at the same time as LibKey Link, and we are going to do an additional webinar that's going to focus exclusively on that because there's a lot of nuts and bolts to LibKey.io, different potentials, different possibilities. So as not to have this webinar go on forever, we'll be talking about that again very soon. But the idea is that this is quite literally a legal Sci-Hub, and I put that in quotes, not the legal part, but the Sci-Hub, kind of element there, because this very much uses your library resources, using the LibKey API, using unpaywall data to get content as fast as we can using that identifier lookup. When you first come to the site, you can see this as Twin Cities University. You have to affiliate yourself one time, and then it remembers that in the browser. We will provide waifless linking options for libraries. So if you want to link right to the LibKey.io service, you can have your library ID in that link so the user doesn't have to affiliate themselves. And then it's very similar to the LibKey link workflow with the format chooser and so on, able to get you right to the documents as fast as possible. So you'll see there's a nice overlap between the concepts of LibKey.io and LibKey Link, whereas Link is focused on being inside of other systems like link resolvers and so on, or I'm sorry, inside of databases and so on. Whereas LibKey.io is a destination platform for users to come to who may be habituated to looking up DOIs and PMIDs and trying to get to those known items as fast as possible. So that's all I had to talk about today. Hope you learned a lot about the LibKey services, especially LibKey Link, what we've been working on, what you have to look forward to, and so on. I do have time, of course, though. If you have questions, I do invite you to put them in the chat box, and I'm happy to stick around and answer your questions. If not, you will receive a copy of this recording by the end of the week, and that you can share with your colleagues. And thank you very much for attending. I'll look for any questions. Thank you. The questions are coming. I'll let you all type for a minute and then I'll answer the questions. Okay, so Peter asks, are you also working on adding more content to your products? Absolutely, all the time. In the last month, I know that we added several hundred more titles, and that is a continual kind of process. We're well over 25,000 now. That continues to grow. We are going to be working with JALC in Japan, JST, to add the complete JStage, both Japanese as well as English content. So we have lots of great plans to continue to add this in a global scale as more content gets added. Also, we got asked here, let's see, Winnie asks, LibKey Nomad can only be used in Chrome. Is LibKey Link browser independent? Yeah. So LibKey Nomad is a browser extension, has to be installed by the user. LibKey Link is completely browser independent. It is a linking syntax. So you literally swap out the resolver link that you maybe configured for Google Scholar or Web of Science, put in the LibKey replacement, and the links that you have already in those services then function as you saw as LibKey links. So it's completely browser independent, absolutely. Nancy asks, this is also exciting, can't wait, thank you. I saw EndNote on a slide, can you share anything about that? Sure, so EndNote does have an option to set up a link resolver inside of it so that users can resolve articles that they've saved from other services to the full text. And that's always a base URL for your link resolver. So just like the database services, you could use the LibKey link instead in that same place. And if there's an identifier that comes across from the record inside of EndNote, then all of the LibKey processes will spool up and help the user out and get them there faster. Thank you for asking about that. James asked, any chance that Nomad will be made available for Firefox? There's always a chance, but we don't have definitive plans right now to do that. We're still evolving kind of the feature set, you know, the number of places that are integrated and so on with LibKey Nomad on Chrome, which is, of course, by far the world's most popular browser. But we know there's interest in other browsers as well. So we may be announcing that in the future. Ola asks, thanks for the presentation. Please let us know if LibKey link is compatible with e.g. Get It Now, etc. The Get It Now service, of course, is a document delivery type system. If there is room inside of Get It Now to also have your link resolver embedded in there, then LibKey link will work just as well. I think usually Get It Now is used at the kind of like link resolver sort of services stage. When an item is not available, you could use Get It Now then to retrieve it. I've seen that most commonly, so that's not like as applicable, I guess, for the workflow. But certainly anywhere that you have your link resolver in, it would work great. Joanne, okay, asking also about EndNote, so confirm that. Any other browsers? We talked about that as well for Nomad. How easy is it to do institutional rollout? Great development. That really depends on IT department. We've worked closely with a number of different IT groups at different places around the world, getting feedback about that. We have documentation for it in our support pages, specifically about enterprise deployment and so on. I would advise certainly to show that to your IT group and say, hey, can we do this? Do we use Microsoft Group Policy? That's our preferred way of doing rollouts. It's very, very common at a lot of institutions. Certainly, you can drop me an email. I'm at john@thirdiron.com, which I'll type in here real quick. If your folks have a keen interest in that and need any guidance, I'm happy to help with that. Let's see. Sorry, reading through this. Paul asks, any update about LibKey Nomad integration into PubMed without browser extensions, so more browser agnostic? I see your comment about Edge. There's not really any update that we can provide on that because it's PubMed's platform, and it's up to them to be able to do that type of integration inside of PubMed. So far, National Library of Medicine has not been keen to do any sort of third-party integrations like that. Even though we have lots and lots of government libraries and so on who all use LibKey services. It is something we're continually asking them about and talking to them about, but without their immediate cooperation, I don't want to overpromise that will happen. Thank you for that. Let's see. Pavlos says, is there an issue when you have access to something which is not free? Because LibKey and screenshots show the download option anyway. Is there an issue when you have access to something which is not free? No, so I think you're asking if there's an issue if you have access to something, meaning you have entitled access, meaning you have to go through authentication. And I didn't specifically show in some of these screenshots like a sign-in process for a proxy server or Athens or so on. But we do support things that are subscribed as well. So this is not just an open access availability type of system. We are looking at authenticated materials, and we will automatically add the authentication piece that is unique for your library into that workflow for your users. So it's very easy to get to that authenticated material. Pablo, if I'm misunderstanding your question, please feel free to email me and we can talk about it further. Perry asks, what options are available for viewing statistics and analytics for libraries? So right now, the analytics are combined. So your access through Browsing or LibKey and Discovery and Link and so on all come through reports that we can send you on a monthly basis automatically. They tell you number of downloads per journal, number of table of contents viewed per journal in the Browsing ecosystem, the percentage of session use, number of sessions, that kind of thing. We do that across the different products. There is a lot of interest from libraries in maybe delineating that though, so that we can say, well, this is what's happening in LibKey Discovery, this is what's happening in Nomad, and so on. So we're getting all these services kind of out there and installed and listening to feedback about what people want, what is going to be useful. And then we'll figure out kind of our trajectory for how we're going to keep evolving the analytics. But there is a baseline analytics package already available. Janice asks, is there a test instance of LibKey that we could look at before we implement it? I'm a bit hesitant to implement it while most of us are telecommuting and can't discuss it as fully as we would be able to if all of us were still on site. Always a trick. Welcome to COVID-19 land, right? There's not really, I should say, the LibKey link will be produced for you, and you can manually test it however you'd like. So what I mean by that is if you're thinking, well, maybe we want to put this in PubMed, but we want to see how it works first, right? If you go into PubMed right now and click on your link resolver link and capture that URL that's created and kind of put it in a text box or text document or something, you would be able to then swap out the prefix link that you have right now for your link resolver and put in the LibKey link and then put that back in your browser and see how it would work, essentially, if it were actually in PubMed. And you can do that as much as you want. That's the nature of it. The problem is that none of these services, these databases that LibKey link integrates with, has a test instance. Because the question is really, do those systems have a test instance, which they don't. But like I said, you can manually sort of do this and kind of see how that resolution works and say, this is the experience we could have if we then actually put it in our production systems. So there are mechanisms and ways to do that. Let's see, one more question. If we're already set up with LibKey link for PubMed, which is fantastic, well, great, thanks. Do we still need to submit the form for LibKey link 2.0? You do, and here's why. So LibKey link, the original, is specifically designed for PubMed. Every link resolver system out there actually has a unique syntax for the outside tool in PubMed. And that's because National Library of Medicine said, we're not really going to support OpenURL. Instead, we're going to support this concept where we're going to attach a PMID to the end of some string that you give us. And link resolver, you have to deal with that. So we're not going to add that OpenURL nomenclature. We're going to just give you this PMID and you got to sort it out from there. So because of that, every link resolver has a unique syntax for that. And that unique syntax is what we collected when we built the original LibKey link for you. In order to do the LibKey link 2.0 here, we essentially also need an OpenURL style base URL to get as well. So we will ask questions like what is your original LibKey link, or I'm sorry, what is your PubMed resolution? What is the resolution for your link resolver? So you wouldn't necessarily need to do all of that, of course, but we do need the new information to make it work in OpenURL parsing situations. Good question. Yeah, because that's definitely something that people have asked about. Winnie asks, will your answers to all questions be available in text somewhere after the presentation? No, they won't. I'm sorry, Winnie. But I am trying to read them out loud and so on. I could, I think, actually write these out a little bit though. I think I can capture this group chat. So let me see if I can do that to include that with what's distributed. That's a good point because it makes it easier to read through. So, but not automatically. So yeah, I'll work on that, Winnie. No problem. And then finally, Georgios asks, could we have the link for the recorded? I will provide that to everybody on this presentation by the end of the week. So it'll be a few days, but I will give that to everybody automatically by registering. We have your emails, so I can get that to you. All right. Wow, lots of questions. Thanks so much for that. Any other questions I can answer at this time? Excellent. Well, hey, thanks everybody for attending. Really appreciate your attendance today. Have a great day. Stay safe. And if you have any other questions, send me a note at john@thirdiron.com. Thanks everybody for coming. Ellen, absolutely. You could forward the recording. No problem. Thank you. Appreciate it, folks. All right, take care.